this is a solar cell, and this is a solar-powered RC car with 48 of these solar cells, built to see how well it can drive with no batteries whatsoever, on only the power of the sun.
Look at that go!
Last year I saw how effective these super efficient solar cells were at flying an aeroplane, as I just about got a plane to fly on it with no battery connected to the motor. I also tried building a more complex plane design with equipment to charge batteries so it would be able to fly all day, even if the clouds came out. This didn't go too successfully though. The 100% solar-powered RC plane had worked surprisingly well, which gave me an idea. Could I build a 100% solar-powered RC car? How well would it perform with no battery? And would it theoretically have infinite range so long as the sun was out? Solar cells work by converting sunlight into electricity using a process called the photovoltaic effect. They're made of special materials like silicon that release electrons when hit by sunlight. These free electrons flow through a circuit, creating an electric current that can be used to power things like electric motors. Now, these solar cells don't provide much power when compared to conventional RC car batteries, so I'd probably have to use a lot of them to move an RC car. Perhaps a good starting point for this project would be to build the smallest, simplest car I could with these cells. I started by making a chassis from strips of wood. These would hold 4 solar cells in series and 4 wheels. I used hot glue to attach everything together, making sure to keep it all square, which would be important for having this car go in a straight line. Now I could make some small axle holders and attach them to each corner of the car before turning attention to the wheels. These wheels would be simple model aircraft wheels with foam tyres, which I selected due to their low mass. Now for the motors. For this car I just used some super basic brushed motors, and I started by fitting these motors to the axle holders before wiring them up. In hindsight, hot gluing the motors on might have been a bit of a mistake. The motors were connected together so that they would work together in parallel, and these were wired to a switch installed to turn the car on and off. Pretty basic. Now we had a basic chassis to attach the cells to. The cells were super fragile, so had to be handled with a lot of care. One wrong move and they could smash. Even too much heat from the soldering iron could break them. But with a last blob of solder in place, now I'd built my first solar-powered car.
Oh, Luke, should we see if it works?
Yeah.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. Nada.
I don't know if it's going to work in here, I'll be honest.
As expected, it didn't work indoors, but thankfully the weather was quite sunny.
Whoa,
oh wow.
The sun. Oh! Damn, that is that's powerful!
Beady.
Whoa! I'm a bit worried they're going to just fall off actually. Right, let's see if this thing actually works on the road. Go!
The car didn't seem to be working too well straight away, despite its apparent power. But after realising I'd got one motor going one way and the other going the other way, suddenly the car started to perform.
2, 1, go! There it goes!
This car had no remote control at all, so I had to keep running alongside, just to make sure it didn't go off course.
Oh no, oh no!
Despite this car's simplicity, it was making good progress, travelling at a maximum speed of around 6 or 7 miles an hour, which was pretty fast for such a simple little car. It was very apparent that any shade over the panels would slow it down. I began to realise that these solar cars would probably need more panels than was immediately apparent, to keep moving in non-ideal conditions.
The version 1 is exceeding all expectations at the moment. It's still going. It's already done about 1 kilometre, so has it stopped? I think it's crashed. Something's happened. The wheels have fallen off, I think.
Uh-oh.
Oh, the motors have like
Overheated?
got too hot and fallen off.
Oh no.
The first car had been more successful than I thought, but it had a few big flaws. Number 1, I couldn't really control it, so I wanted to add radio control. And number 2, the car had overheated and fallen apart before I could get it up to some serious mileage, meaning it didn't really have infinite range. So it was time to build my next solar car. My plan was pretty simple. I would take a standard RC car and fit solar cells to it until it was able to move. If it needed more cells than the length of the car would allow, I would simply make the car longer. Yeah, a pretty simple plan. The problem with this though was that the car might get impractically long, so we'd have to see how that would turn out. So first I decided to find an RC car chassis to modify, and for this I decided on using an Arrma Limitless, as this chassis would be super robust and hold up to long endurance missions. I knew from my previous projects that this car is very hackable, and helpfully I had lots of spare Limitless parts to build something pretty custom.
So I reckon it's going to go about that fast. Nowhere near what this chassis is capable of, but it's a really strong, robust chassis that you can modify to do whatever you want with. I don't think it's going to be able to do that as a solar car.
Now to figure out how many cells we'd need to run the Arrma Limitless motor. For this I could have done a bunch of maths and looked at all of the specs of the brushless motor, but instead I decided the quickest way to see if it would work was some good old-fashioned trial and error, which is often my preferred way of doing things. We laid out a bunch of cells on the ground, salvaged from one of the crashed solar planes, and wired all 24 of them directly up to the RC car electronics. These 24 cells all together in series should produce a total of 16 volts and produce around 6 amps of current. Although a bit battered, thankfully they all still worked.
So here's the moment of truth. Do the solar panels power this motor? Oh yeah, I think the motor's, so the fan's going. Moment of truth. It worked for a split second and then stopped.
The voltage was a bit low for this car's electronic speed controller, so I found a new one to try. Perhaps this one would allow the motor to spin.
Oh, look at that! That's great. That is pretty powerful. Oh, I think that is a very torquey motor, very, very powerful motor. So yeah, that'll be what we need, I think.
The motor worked, which was a great start, but the big question was whether it would actually produce enough power to move what would end up being quite a heavy RC car. So the next step was to assemble the car to hold all of the solar cells. A standard Arrma Limitless is actually quite a compact car with a wheelbase of just 406mm. I knew I'd need a lot more length to fit all of the cells, so clearly I'd need to extend it by quite a bit. Mocked up with all of the panels in place, I began to get a bit apprehensive about whether this RC car would actually work practically on the roads being this long. So how would I actually extend the length of the car chassis to connect the front and rear sections? Well, helpfully in the ProjectAir workshop I still had some square PVC tubing lying around from the jet hovercraft project I built a few months ago, and it looked ideal for the job. Strong, fairly lightweight, and crucially already paid for. My next problem was to make the Limitless chassis and PVC section both match up properly.
Right, so we've got the rear end over here with the motor and the drive chain going to the wheels, and then on the front we need to somehow figure out how to stick this on the front of the car. I've got this chassis from an old land speed project, one of my old jet car projects that I took everything off. So I'll just attach the front subframe to that chassis and then we should be able to just stick it on the front of the big long tube. It might be better to make a fully custom carbon fibre chassis, but I've no idea whether this is going to work yet. Is this car going to drive properly when it's completely stretched out? And yeah, this might end up being one of the longest RC cars in the world.
My next problem was to make the Limitless chassis and PVC section both match up properly. All I needed to do was flatten out the floor plate, and with a bit of elbow grease and a vise, I persuaded it into shape pretty easily. All of this was about not overthinking it, instead going for the most practical solutions to problems. Now it was time for a test of the elongated chassis. Would it actually drive as expected? The weather wasn't exactly playing along, but this would be a test of the chassis with a conventional LiPo battery powering the motor, so I didn't need to worry about the lack of sunlight. The test would just be a quick run of the basic car to see if everything looked good before fitting the cells. All I needed to worry about was the electronics getting wet from the rain. It was pretty typical. I'd waited for the summer to start this solar car project, and then it went and rained for an entire week. The car worked really well and was nice and stable even at higher speeds, but there was a bit of an issue.
It's got bottomed out on the middle of the road. That's no good. Might have to raise the ride height a little bit.
The car had done well, and I had some good data from this test. I was happy that a long wheelbase RC vehicle would work for this solar car.
Very quick announcement. ProjectAir merch is now a thing. We've got t-shirts, there's a link down below. More information at the end of the video. Go and pick one up.
Now it was time to move on to the most interesting part of the project so far, which was fitting the solar cells, while I waited for some nicer summer weather. Before committing to permanently installing the solar cells, I wanted to make extra sure that we had enough power from the 24 cells to move this car's weight. Through a fairly rough testing setup, we figured out that the car needed around 4 to 5 amps just to get started on level ground. And that was a bit of a problem. The cells I had were only just capable of producing that consistently in ideal conditions. So I decided to wait for some ideal conditions and do a rough proof of concept test, taping the cells to the top of the car.
This all seems very familiar to last year when we were doing this with the aeroplane, but thankfully this is slightly more controlled in the fact that we don't have to launch this into the sky and have to get it landed safely every single time, which was very stressful with these very fragile solar cells.
Now for the ultimate test. If the car was too heavy, it wouldn't work.
Oh, that sounds strong. Okay, moment of truth. Is it going to drive? You ready?
Yeah.
We have steering. Yes! It's working! Just about. Well, it worked for about 2 seconds.
Well, it barely had enough power.
The ESC's cutting it out for some reason.
The car was too heavy for the power that the panels could provide.
Well, we got about 5 feet. It's a good start.
At this point, it looked like we might need to go right back to square one and build a completely new car with a much lighter chassis. But there was another option.
We've got all of these cells left from the other solar plane project, so what if we just add more cells to this car? So we're just going to add another 24 to this 24, making 48 cells, and then we'll wire it up in parallel, therefore giving the motor a lot more power.
By wiring these up in parallel with the original set, I could double the current available while keeping the voltage the same. This would give the motor much more torque, which was exactly what I needed to get the car moving. So after quickly hacking together a wiring setup for the new cells, we could do another quick test.
Oh, that's better. Oh, that's way better. It's got lots more power, that. Keep going, keep going. Yes, look at it. Look at it go. Right, we figured this out. We just need more panels. So that's how many panels we need to make this RC car actually drive like a normal RC car.
With both sets of panels connected, the car had more than enough grunt to actually drive properly. But now I had the problem of making the car even longer to fit the extra panels. And of course this would come with its own set of challenges. I extended the PVC tube to mount the extra panels, but that extra length made the chassis a lot more flexible. It started to sag in the middle and would definitely bottom out as soon as it hit a bump, if not all of the time. This extra PVC section was also about a kilo extra of weight, which would obviously offset some of the extra power. Fortunately, I had solutions to these two problems. The first step was to lighten the tube by cutting a series of holes along the sides. This modification saved around 165 grams, a decent amount considering how tight the power margins were. Next, I raised the whole tube further off the ground, using some 3D printed standoff brackets. This meant that even if the middle of the chassis flexed under load, it wouldn't scrape along the ground.
Well, that is the longest car I've ever seen.
With that, the solar car was ready for its first test. So now it was time to see if it would technically drive forever.
Right, while we wait for some decent weather to actually test this solar car, it's time for a very quick ad from the sponsor of this video, Odoo, who helps the ProjectAir workshop run smoothly behind the scenes with their many helpful applications. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software made for entrepreneurs, creators, and makers with a range of applications to simplify the day-to-day management of their business. And this includes invoicing, accounting, project management, inventory, website creation, and much more.
The really cool bit is that Odoo scales with your business. As your needs grow, you can just add on more apps. The first app is totally free for life, and that includes unlimited hosting and support. One of their best apps, in my opinion, is the Odoo Sign app. This app lets you send, sign, and manage documents online in just a few clicks. Customizing your documents is easy. You can drag and drop fields like name, date, and email wherever you want them, and specify who should complete each field. You can also determine the signing order and send reminders to avoid delays and keep things moving. You can create your own signature with handwriting, drawing with your finger or a mouse, or through uploading a scanned copy. People can access the documents on any device. You'll also get real-time tracking so that you always know who signed and what's still in waiting. All actions are securely recorded, and everything in the Odoo Sign app meets electronic signature standards in over 100 countries. You can save your own document templates, quickly search through tags and filters, and keep everything safely stored in one central place with unlimited storage. The Signature app is included in that first free app deal, with no hidden fees, allowing you to sign and send documents for free. Just like with all Odoo apps, everything is easy and efficient. So try your first Odoo app today for free with the link in the description below.
The sun. We've got the sun and we've got the car all sorted. Yeah, let's see if we can power it up with all of these cells with double the power than we had before. I've done my best to keep this thing as lightweight as possible, so yeah, I don't know. We'll see if it has enough power now to overcome its total weight.
It was time for the ultimate test. How far would this RC car go? Would it be capable of unlimited range? And how fast would it be?
Okay, ready? Let's see if it has enough power to overcome its weight. Ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Yes! It's doing it! Look at that go!
Straight away, it became obvious that at full throttle, this car was way too quick to keep up with on foot.
Look at it go!
I had to only use about 20% throttle to keep it at a walking pace.
That's got so much power! It's so fast!
The chassis was holding up really well, better than I'd expected given the extra weight and length. The steering was also working well despite the ridiculous length of the wheelbase. It was even able to maneuver around potholes quite well. Eventually we reached a smoother, flatter stretch of road, so I opened it up a bit more. The car was much quicker than I expected. Too quick, really, to keep up with.
So much better than I thought it was going to be. Oh, when it goes under the trees, I can feel the power go.
I had to keep stopping, partially for me to catch my breath, and partly to let Emma catch up with the camera.
You okay? Take your time. Too quick, honestly. It's way too quick. Even going from a standstill on this hill, it can just fly up it. All good?
Yeah.
Just walk back at walking pace.
So the car was reaching a top speed of around 12 miles an hour, and so far we'd done a few kilometres. But then, as the sun dipped behind a passing cloud, the car started to slow, and then stopped.
Well, we're just on our way back and the clouds just come over, so it's now cut out. So it definitely needs full sun for this thing to work.
With the sunlight being obscured, the cells couldn't produce enough amps for the car to overcome its own weight anymore.
Well, we found the limit. Well, we're always trying to do that on ProjectAir, so the limit is good UK weather, which is quite a tall order, actually.
After waiting a few minutes, once the sun had come back, the car could get moving again.
Okay, sun.
But this had highlighted the main issue with a purely solar-powered vehicle. It's only really as good as the weather. I found myself actively steering around shadows cast by trees just to keep the panels in sunlight. After about an hour and a half of driving, the car made it back to where we'd started, having covered around 2.4 miles or 3.8 kilometers. It had reached a top speed of around 12 miles an hour, and crucially, nothing had broken. The solar car had achieved all mission objectives.
This thing has succeeded in more ways than one. I think that, yeah, really this car is only limited by the clouds and by ourselves keeping up with it. So I think there's a ton of potential in this concept that I might want to explore further.
The car only went a few kilometers there, but you must remember that there were no batteries on the car whatsoever. I'm pretty certain that if we just kept walking, the car would never have needed to stop. The only time it did stop was with that single cloud. So I think that if the sun was out all the time, night and day, theoretically this car would have infinite range. So let me know if you want to see more solar powered stuff in the comments down below. Make sure to click subscribe down below and also click the like button so that, yeah, more people will find these videos that I'm making on ProjectAir, and yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this one and you'll watch some more. I can't wait to get started on the next solar project.
Right, as mentioned earlier in the video, I've now got ProjectAir merch on projectair.co.uk. It's shipping worldwide. You can go and check out the first batch of t-shirts on the website. It's a design that's based on the jet car that I did in 2023. If you want to go and pick up one of those t-shirts, they're very limited in their numbers. You'll have to probably be a bit quick because I think they might all sell out quite quickly. We've really not got very many at all. Head over to the store, see what else we've got, and yeah, go and have a look. Thanks very much again for watching this ProjectAir video and for supporting all of the stuff that we're doing and all the projects and big new things we're working on. So yeah, here's another video for you to watch in the meantime while you wait for the next video to come out, and I will see you on that one. Thanks for watching.